Welcome to another video. This is A Warmer World, and this is Unit 5, Day 22. I'm Miss Mac, and congratulations for getting this far. Let's dive into today's independent work. So, your independent work should look like this. Pause this video, pull up your independent work for today. Alright, so let's read the directions and then we can jump into the map. Go to carbonmap.org. Wait, not right now. Wait for me to finish the instructions. Press the play button to watch and listen to the introduction that describes how this interactive map works. Write a few sentences to describe what this interactive map will show you. So, we are going to click on this blue link and then you are going to press play. Let's watch that together though. I have a recording here so you don't actually have to go to the map right this second. So let's roll that recording now.
We're used to seeing the world like this. Though if countries are resized to represent their true area, it actually looks more like this. But area is only one way of looking at the world. This site gives some others, such as where the people are and where the money is. Mainly though, this site is about climate change. Browse the responsibility maps to see how each country helps drive global carbon emissions, from extracting fossil fuels and burning them, through to consuming the goods and services that result. You can also see historical emissions, most of which are still in the air, and potential emissions that are currently locked up in coal, oil and gas reserves. In addition, you'll find some vulnerability maps which show the people most at risk from climate change, such as those already exposed to droughts, floods and extreme temperatures. Click on a country to see its national data, and if you like, use the shading drop-down to overlay extra information. For example, we can add shading to show where population is rising, the red areas, or falling, the green areas. If we then click the emissions map, we can see that the countries with the fastest growing populations currently release very little CO2. But click to the people at risk map and we can see that those same booming populations are very exposed to climate change impacts. So that's the carbon map. Click around to get a better handle on this crucial but complex topic.
Alright, so we have to write a few sentences to describe what this interactive map will show you. So if you need a sentence starter, this map will show me blank. Now, it says write a few sentences, so you're going to have to add more to this sentence starter, but pause this video and finish this slide now. Alright, your slide should be filled out. Let's read this slide together. You have seen an area map before. Let's start to explore the different maps by first looking at the population map and the wealth map. Note, make sure the Shade By tab is set to Shade by Continents. Alright, so here we have carbonmap.org. I have refresh, so this is a fresh map. I have Shade by Continents, and we have all of the continents here. Now, our first task is to compare population and the wealth map. So let's look at population. Wow, changes by a lot. And then wealth changes by a lot too. So let's just pick one continent. Let's pick this North American continent to start out. Let's see area. It looks like this. Then population. All right, so Canada up here, it looks pretty small. So it must have a small population, a small number of people living there. And then looks like the United States and Mexico got a little bigger. So let's focus on wealth now. Still focusing on North America only. Wealth, ooh, looks like the United States got a lot bigger compared to its population. So we have maybe a low population, but a high amount of wealth. That's interesting, something to note. Then let's go over here to Asia in green here. Let's go area first. And then population. Wow, that's a big population, so they have a lot of people. And then wealth, it gets a little smaller in some areas of Asia. So this is China, this country right here. This is India. Population, Really big, India right here, China right here. Then wealth, it gets a little smaller. Interesting. So that is how you compare different maps. Just go continent by continent and switch in between these two tabs right here and notice if a country gets bigger or smaller, or if a whole continent gets bigger or smaller. So back in our independent work slides, click on the population map. How is it different from the area map? So we're comparing population to area. Write down 1 to 2 things you notice. So the population map is different from the area map because or by being whatever. So pause this video, take a couple minutes, switch between the population and area maps and compare the two and write on your independent slides. Okay, hopefully your area versus population section is done. Next, we have wealth versus population. So you're switching between the wealth and the population tabs. Next, click on the wealth map. How is it different from the population map? Write down 1 to 2 things you notice. Then, once we are comfortable switching back and forth and we've noticed a lot of things, a lot of differences, compared to their population size, which continents have more wealth than you would expect? How could you explain this? So pause this video. There are some sentence starters right down here. Compare the wealth map to the population map and write your answers down on your slides. All right, hopefully this section is done. In groups, the rest of the maps will help you determine which continents are most responsible for climate change and which are most vulnerable to the impacts. And being vulnerable to the impacts of climate change is usually a negative thing. So let's say Italy is particularly vulnerable because it sits below sea level, and if the sea level rises, Italy is going to flood and go underwater. Just an example. Click on the tabs at the top to explore the other maps and fill in this data table, and then paste a screenshot in the orange slides with your analysis. So you're doing this in groups. Before you get started, make sure all of your group members know what's going on. For each map, make sure to click back on the population tab to make comparisons. And a helpful tip, on the right side, there is a box labeled "This map" that will give you more helpful information about that map. So you are just clicking back and forth from these tabs to compare the population maybe to the carbon emissions. So let's see, we can focus on, let's focus on Africa, this yellow continent, population, emissions. Wow, that's a big difference. So population, and it's like this, and then emissions, it shrinks a lot. And then this map feature over here, this map information, gives you more information about the tab that you're on. You can also see vulnerability. So let's say sea level. These countries over here might be vulnerable. People at risk. Looks like China got a lot bigger. And Russia's over here somewhere. And Europe is here. So just to reiterate, you're just switching back and forth from the area, population, to responsibility and vulnerability for climate change. And make sure your group fills out this data table and posts it in your orange slides. And that is the end of this video. Hopefully it was helpful. I know it was not a traditional video, but hopefully you were able to complete your independent work for today. And I will see you next week. Have a great day.